Welcome to Back on the Broomstick,
A modern witch's spoken word grimoire.
where two witchy friends from way back are reconnecting to their pagan roots after a long period of mundanity.
We're rewalking the path of the wise and trying out all the latest spells, rituals, and magical theory in today's witchcraft and pagan practices.
So grab your wand and your incense,
Your cauldron and your crystals
and join us
as we get
back on the broomstick.
Hi, and welcome to Back on the Broomstick. I'm Layla, and on this episode, we're welcoming Dina Rosenberg, creator of the Crystal Keys Tarot, co-owner of Amityville Apothecary on Long Island. Dina is an Italian folk witch and tarot reader whose work brings together ancestral wisdom, intuitive reading, and a deep love of crystals.
And I'm Chelle, and as y'all know, I am well over my 300th deck. I love decks, so I am about to just dive into my zone, and I am so excited. And this is a fabulous deck, and we can't wait to get into it and talk about it and talk about the method behind it. So Layla and I would like to welcome Dina Rosenberg.
Yay.
Welcome.
Thank you so much. I am so happy and excited to be here and talk to you and everybody. It's just great.
You know, it's kind of funny, Dina, because we were sent this deck from Red Wheel Wiser and we love it. And then we got kind of a little bit of a nudge from a listener. So, Cliff, we're totally going to throw you under the bus here, Cliff. We love you.
Hi, Cliff.
Hi, Cliff. Thank you for this. But we fell in love with this deck and hadn't done the review yet, but we were using it like crazy. And including putting it on some of our social media at different things that we had done. And Cliff contacted us and said, hey, I happen to know the person who made the deck, who authored the deck. Would you like to get in touch with her? And we were like, heck yes, please do. So it was a little bit of a roundabout way that we got to you. And we are very, very happy to have you here because I don't know if you can see, but I've used this. So the gilding's coming off because I use this deck all the time.
Yeah, same. Definitely. That's the thing about gilding, you know.
Yes.
So, well used deck.
It's pretty out of the packaging.
Oh, it is. I mean, from far away, she still looks good. I mean, mine's pretty roughed up. I've been pulling a card a day out of her since January 1st. So she's holding up. But Cliff is the best. I actually just saw Cliff last night. We had a past life regression with Susan Graw, who wrote a book called Infinite Life, Infinite Lessons. She's a psychic medium that had a near-death experience in NDE. And she's out in LA. She was recently on like the Drew Barrymore show, super jealous. So we had her out and we were all together trying to dive into our past lives.
That's one of the things that I'm very interested in as well. I do love a good past life regression. But before we get too off track, because trust me, you get me into meditation and stuff like that, I'll get there. But your deck. So we were sent this deck and honestly, I was at first like, okay, it's a crystal deck. What does that mean? I'm like, what's a crystal deck? But I loved the image that came up, the one of the cards here. The image on the book is just fabulous. So I thought, I like crystals. I like tarot. I'll give this a try. I'm not sure what it is about layering the two together, but this deck very much speaks to me. It has a lot to say in a lot of different ways. And these crystals that you picked aren't necessarily the typical ones you might hear associated with tarot. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So I suppose I need to explain that crystals is my first love. So if everybody has this sort of like witchy gateway into this world where they start, like, is it tarot? Is it astrology? Is it herbs? For me, it was crystals. And so the tarot, even though I got my first tarot deck in 1995, tarot is always like a little bit herky-jerky for me to like memorize 70 cards. Forget about reversals. By the way, I don't read reversals, and you don't have to either. If it pisses you off, it's fine. Because people like reversals, like I don't do that. And I teach tarot class, and when like the students in my class are reading reversals, I roll my eyes at them. I'm like, can we just like, this is like a class that we're starting from the beginning. Why are we doing this? Anyway. Super frustrated, like, why can't I memorize all 78 of these cards? And then I was in the shower and literally it hit me like the lightning in the tower card. Moldavite and the tower are the same energy. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I was super intrigued. And then the image that you showed, which is Chrysical and the Empress, came really fast. selenite and the high priestess, emperor and pyrite, fast, 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 fast. I was like, really
Those just fell
interesting.
into place beautifully.
They came very quick. And I'm like, this is really interesting. Maybe I could do this. And then what seems like maybe, I don't know, 5 days later, 7 days later, something like that, a friggin' illustrator walks into my shop. I'm at work on a Saturday. I'm behind the counter carving a candle, and up comes to me this woman, Amalia. Hi, my name is Amalia. I've been told to introduce myself to you by the girls working in the front. I'm an illustrator. I'm an artist, and they said I should speak to you.
Divine
Wow.
intervention there.
Yes. So I was like, huh, do you have a card? And we were, chit-chatting or whatever. And I reached out to her and we had a meeting at a local coffee shop. And I said, she said, oh, tell me about yourself. And she's younger than I am. I'm 50. She's like in her early 30s. She'd be like my little sister. And I was like, oh, I'm the child of jazz musicians. And she's like, that's so weird. I'm like the child of jazz musicians. I'm like, that's so weird. And anyway, it turns because like it's like really weird, right?
That's so
Like
yeah.
weird.
What are
That's
the
out there. What are
chances?
the chances of that?
No, but wait, her uncle was the trumpet player in my parents' band.
No shit.
Oh,
Wow.
wow.
Talk about
Meant to be.
synchronicities.
So spooky. So anyway, we started working on this thing, and I told her the imagery for like really the imagery for Moldavite was really like, obviously the Moldavite comes from space, so Moldavite's crashing into the tower. That was like the whole image. And we sort of talked about it and we sketched about it. And if you go on my Instagram, if you guys are visual, my personal Instagram is Dina Rosenberg. The first pin post has this like release day little montage that shows some of those original sketches that we sat and we're like
Beautiful.
workshopping the
Oh,
sketches and
wow.
how we were going to do everything. And it took from probably our first meeting to release date about 4 years, but it was a year to match the correspondences of the crystals with the archetypes of the cards.
Yeah.
It was a project.
I've heard that it takes quite a while. Creating a tarot deck is no simple endeavor. It is a labor. It is a true labor when you
It
start
was.
this. Yeah.
Now, it's funny that you said that it was the gateway for you because it was the opposite for me. I have been reading tarot cards since about 1994. And
Similar timing.
tarot's my thing. Tarot's always been my thing. And I never, you can only have one obsession slash addiction slash hobby at a time. And tarot was my thing. So I never really got into crystals. It was too much for me to take on. And about 6 years ago, I had moved to Salem, Massachusetts, and all of a sudden I came into this awakening of being called to crystals. So I started collecting crystals and started working with crystals a whole hell of a lot more than I ever have in the last 30 years. And got this real connection. And when your deck came, and I literally have hundreds of decks. I've seen them all. I love tons of them. But what set this one apart from all of those was it clicked. I was starting to realize, oh, this stone is
Mhm.
related to this card. So I kind of had the opposite revelation where it kind of has started to open up the door a little more for me with crystals because that has not been my forte.
That's so exciting to hear because that was sort of the hope, right? If you were a crystal person, your understanding of crystals would inform the archetypes, but vice versa, that if you understood the archetypes, it would go the other way. So I'm so happy that you're saying it's working bidirectionally for you because
Absolutely.
it's, when we're witches and we're trying to do spell work, whether we're, reading tarot, working with crystals, or whatever it is that we're doing, right? We want to layer as many correspondences as possible, right? And what is the correspondence? But it's like these really close energetic linkages. And the more you energetically link them, the more the more powerful your or effective your spell work will be. And so that for me, the crystals sort of always spoke to me on that level where I could connect with them. And in my opinion, there's sort of like these like living, I don't want to sound like completely off my rocker, but these like living conscious
Yes,
beings that
I
change
believe
as
that
human
too.
beings are on the earth as well. Like as we change, our relationship with the stones change as well. And so because even though I got my first tarot deck like around 1995, the stones I think I started getting into like crystal jewelry when I was like 7, 8, 9 years old. I used to go to
Right.
these like little flea markets and beg my grandmother to buy me these Native American silver cuffs. I still have them. Turquoise, black onyx, just all of those things. So I'm so glad to hear that that is working for you in that way.
I think it's a good tool. Also, you mentioned with spell work. I haven't ever really leaned on tarot for spell work much. I just haven't. I've utilized other methods. But this, like I've had a stalker card, and Layla and I were kind of laughing about this. I pulled a couple cards yesterday. This card came up. Like literally shuffled the deck 5 or 6 different times today, and the same freaking card keeps coming up, and I happen to have the matching stone for it. So I keep getting the chariot,
Ah,
the carnelian.
mm,
So even though I may not necessarily use a physical card in spell work or a ritual, I now would take that same energy, that chariot type energy, and utilize my carnelian.
yeah, exactly. This deck, I hear so many stories about how this deck stalks people. It does. Like she's something else, man. I'm like, maybe because so much of it was channeled, like really a lot of it was really just channeled. And so even the correspondences that I had picked, by the time I got around to writing the book and writing the meaning of where I was going and what quote unquote angle I was taking for the card, because like let's face it, when you're writing a tarot book that goes with the deck, this isn't gigantic. You gotta pick an angle for the card. This book could just be one card, really, if you think about it.
Really, it could, absolutely.
So I'm really trying to think about the angles. And I remember there were times where I was sitting and looking at the card, thinking about the correspondence that I picked and thinking, like, why the fuck did I pick this? Like, I forgot.
I
Like,
love that.
okay, pick the stone. I'm looking at the card. Yeah, it was really funny. And then I would just like sit and be like, okay, what are we doing with this?
Is there
Next.
any that you ended up switching before publication? Was there any stone and card or a set of stones and cards where like, you know what? These need to be flip-flopped.
So many. So many. The first thing that happened was we get through. So the first thing we did was we did the major. All the majors we did first. And then Amalia started working on the art for those. I was like, all right, while you're doing the majors, I'm going to start picking off the minors. And I did, and we had already had a conversation that we wanted to color assort the suits to make them make sense, because like sort of like because I'm a crystal person, what aggravated me like the other attempts to do this would be like, how do you have in like the swords all these different colors? It doesn't make sense because swords in my opinion are always throat up. So we're talking about ethereal here, we're talking blues, aquas, purples, things like that. So we knew we wanted to do that, and because I was channeling and because I was like really leaning into the archetypes, I didn't start with like a list of crystals that were like your heavy hitters that needed to be in the deck, which is why you see things in here they're like, I've never even heard of this.
Right.
Like
Yes.
everybody's like, what the hell is wolfenite? You know what I mean? Like so, there's a lot of that. So by the time I got down and finished all 78 correspondences, malachite wasn't in the deck, smoky quartz wasn't in the deck, and black tourmaline wasn't in the deck. And I was like, oh,
Interesting.
really weird, right? So of course I was like, well, that can't be. And interestingly enough, temperance, who is an asshole? Does anybody else constantly get victimized by temperance? I mean, I know I am. Literally was an asshole the entire time. Temperance started out as Dan Bright, because I always connect Dan Bright with being like super angelic. And I was like really honed into like the angelic figure on the original Rider Waite Smith depiction. And Dan Bright, because it's clear and it's so pale, was really hard for Amalia to photograph and get the texture of. So she was like, look, I made this. It sort of like isn't working. And I was like, all right, fine. That's okay. Dan Bright, it's not meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
Then Temperance became literally the opposite, right? So it goes from this like high upper chakra ethereal Dan Bright, which is like one of like Robert Simmons, like Synergy. I don't know if it's like, what is it, 12? It's Synergy 12 stones. It goes to Galena, which is friggin' lead. It went like
all
literally
the way
from the
down
top to the bottom, all the way down. Because Galena is a stone of alchemy and personal transformation. And I was like, that's an interesting story. You know, you have like these cups and like, you know. And then I was like, no, that's not right. And then when I saw that, and of course, my poor illustrator, she did Dan Bright. She fucking does Galena. She's like, I am going to stab you. Stop moving to do it, right? Then then I see, holy shit, there's no smoky quartz in the deck. And like smoky quartz is so important to me. And I'm like, oh my God, absolutely. Like smoky quartz, if you think about what temperance means, or if you think of the English word tempering and what actually the activity of tempering is, smoky quartz tempers our energy.
So that worked out beautifully.
Well, I think what it is meant to
It
be
was
like
waiting for you to pick it.
it was. It was like, we're just not going to let things work out until you get to the right one.
Yeah, you had to like work through the heights, work through the depths until you finally came to the right one. That's kind of, that sounds very temperance like.
Yeah, that one switched. Strength was rhyolite, which whoever really loves rhyolite, don't come for me. It was like really ugly. She wasn't cute. We're like, oh, it's not cute. It's just not cute. And then we wound up, I was like, oh, black tourmaline makes a lot of sense. And then who else changed? Oh, the King of Pentacles changed to gold. He was supposed to be yellow sapphire.
Ooh.
Gold fits really well.
Yeah.
It sounds like the crystals kind of picked their own cards.
They did. That's what I'm saying. Like they're channeled. So the ones that like Amalia would have a little bit of trouble with like the transparency of the stones, it wound up like what was meant to be like channeled in. And then like the ones that were like straight away, like smash me in the face correspondences never changed. Like the imagery of the devil came through like fast and hard. And that one is like pretty much like the furthest from the Rider Waite Smith imagery. It has nothing to do with it at all, really.
Now, I have to give you and Amalia a lot of credit because the images on these cards are not super detailed. Some are very detailed and have a lot of imagery. Some are very, very simple, where you might even call them like a pip card, like close to a pip card. However, I didn't realize that until I was looking at the deck again the other night, because somehow Amalia and the two of you were able to put so many layers into these cards. Like you were talking about Moldavite was the first one that came to you. In the tower, the Moldavite card, there's so many different. I read this in a reading for someone the other night, and it was a tree because the imagery came as growth after the destruction.
Yeah.
And you can see almost the tree growing out of that. And Moldavite for some people can be very destructive. It breaks everything down, but then it kind of brings you back up. It can help you find that strength. So it was very interesting to see that. But again, the images can be very simple, but very layered. Can you tell me about some of the ways that you and Amalia worked together to come up with these designs? Was there anything that surprised you that came out of that pairing?
Yeah, I have to tell you that like I really loathe a pip deck. I'm not.
Yeah, no, I like imagery. I'd like something to latch on to.
Yeah, like no, I'm a little bit of a pip hater. So we knew that we wanted to take the people as far out of the deck as we could. If the crystals were going to be the center, the people had to go. And the only person in the deck really is the Empress, you know?
That's true,
so
actually.
that was really important to us. I feel like I have a cheat, right? You guys, the cheat is maybe I don't have a 300 deck collection, but I have sold. I don't. I'm really picky. I like literally, I'm like a Smith weight girl and then my own deck. That's it. But I sell a lot of tarot decks and I see everything because I have a bookstore and I have a metaphysical shop. So I sort of have a cheat code, and the cheat code is I know what works and I know what people like because I offer it to them and I see them buying it. And the reasons why people like cards or connect with them is because they can fall into the art a little bit or pull pieces of meaning out, right?
Absolutely.
And so that was sort of, so Amalia and I would have these conversations at my kitchen table about what makes a good deck, what makes art that we like, what about certain decks we really, really liked, what pisses us off about decks, like representation, not
It's
having
so important.
representation, like all like as my daughter would say, like decks in the land of Caucasia, like why there's so many white people, like it's like that type of thing. That so we were like, let's take all the people out because we didn't really want to get into, we don't want all the knights to be men. We don't, you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
well, we're just
Right,
gonna take
right.
the people out of the story. And I think that early decision really forced Amalia to figure out how she was going to make the crystals the star of the show. And she did that by layering, almost like digital collage, photos of the crystals and then like sort of art and illustrating over them. And that's really what you're picking up on. She even took photos of some of the stones in my personal collection, as well as the crystals in the shop. So she would come in and photograph. She'd ask me for images. I gifted her a piece of my pyrite. I'm pretty sure it's in the Emperor card. So that was like really important to us to make that happen. But there is a little bit of a pippish nature.
Slightly, but you don't realize it. And that's what I love
No.
about this. Like, take this Four of Swords. It's
Yeah.
very, very simple. There are four swords, three coming down at you, one laying down with hands folded over like they're praying. And it very much gives you the whole idea of this card. You can see that you don't need a person in it. You don't need all the regular imagery. It's all right there, just in a very simple, simple form. And I think that's
Yeah.
part of what is beautiful about this deck is it lets you get lost in the background, in the crystal itself, I guess, in the fractions, the
Yeah. What she did was she took the layout of the Rider-Waite Smith and put it. So like if in the Five of Swords, you'll see the sword placement is pretty much similar to what you would find in the Rider-Waite Smith.
Mhm.
So I think also too subconsciously, you're like, oh, I know
You
those
automatically
sword
fill it
positions.
in. Yes.
And I was actually going to mention the Three of Swords. I mean, it's the exact imagery that we all know and love from Rider-Waite Smith. But yet, when you pair that with Apache tier, it gives
Mm-hmm.
it a whole different depth and a whole different vibe. Same imagery, but a whole different vibe to this card.
Yeah. Yeah. That one came really fast too. I knew it had to be Apache Tears. It was either that or Lepidolite, but Apache Tears was the winner. It, like sort of knocked Lepidolite out of the park. It's like, no,
Now,
not her.
when we first started talking about this deck, you called her, and you said she's
Mm,
got an attitude. And I will definitely say that this deck calls to me. It rings, it has a sound. And so if I'm, headed out to a community event where we're going to pull cards, she'll say, "Hey, I'm here, bring me."
mm.
She definitely wants to come along. So this is one of those decks that I would say has a personality. I know not everybody kind of gets into that, but they do seem to have personalities. They really do.
Yeah.
And this one does. This one has a lot of energy to it. And can you explain your relationship with that and how you kind of felt that first?
You know, I really didn't feel the energy until I got the deck, and I got my copy like December 23rd or something. And I didn't open it until January 1st, which like people were amazed that I like
Wow.
How did you
I'm
have that
amazed.
restraint? I could never.
because it was Christmas time. there was like stuff going on, and we were leaving as a family to go to Puerto Rico on Christmas Day.
So you were busy.
And I was like, I had like packing my family, and I know poor me going to Puerto Rico, like I literally like missed a snowstorm. But going somewhere like off season is weird because you have to like find all the shit that you haven't been wearing and like pack it. So like, things are weird and you're like, whatever. So then I was like, all right, I want to take my time with this. I don't want it to be forced and I want it to feel right. And like, I'm a fucking witch. Like, obviously, like I'm tapped into the energy. And if it's not right, like I didn't want to do it. And then I'm also a business owner, and I also knew I had to film it. So I wanted it to be right, but I also didn't want it to be canned either. It was like this really weird thing. And this is the story of this deck, by the way. The reason why also a lot of times that this deck took 4 years is because I literally went so much on vibes. If I wasn't ready to write, I didn't write. There would be months that would go by where Amalia and I wouldn't talk, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. My husband would say, like, where's the deck? What's going on with it? I'd be like, stop asking me that question. I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, and I'm very much one of those, I'm like that type of like person where like, I'll let you know when you need to know, stop getting on my back about it. Like I didn't need a manager. And so, yeah, I didn't open it until January 1st on the beach of Puerto Rico. And when I opened it, I didn't know about the purple foil. It was a complete surprise to me. And when I started reading it, and the first person I read was my daughter on the beach on New Year's Day. And I did a reading to ask how her summer would shape up because she was applying to internships. She just finished her second year of college. And she was applying to these lab positions. And I was like, how's it going to go? Is she going to get a position? What's going to happen? And the reading was good. And I was like, oh, shit. Like, I think this is going to be good. And she does. She's like that friend that you can't like, she's not going to tell you the lipstick looks good on you, is what I'm saying. If it's like not the right shade, she's going to be like,
I'll tell you.
bitch, wash your face and put something else on. Like that's what she is. But like, not in a mean way to make you feel bad about yourself, in a way to like protect you. That's the energy that I get from her.
That's exactly what I get too.
You get the answer to the question you're asking. You don't have to love it, but you're getting the answer to the question you're asking.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's going to call you out on your crap. Like if you come to the question and like that you really have a preference and you're being like a dick about it because you're asking the same thing over and over again, she will absolutely call you out. But that's very much me. That's the type of magic and the type of work and the type of reading I do, because I am the type of person where if you ask me a question, I'll be like, that's not the right question.
Nice. Hey, sometimes cards are going to answer what the cards are going to answer. That's true.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now I have a question. It's kind of trivial, but I was just curious. I had asked Layla today and she didn't know the answer. Did you and Amalia pick the back design or does the publisher?
Okay, so they picked the back design, but Amalia, when we saw it, Amalia judged the back design. And I know that some people have something to say about the back design. Because of the back design, you can't read it reversed. I am not a reverse
girl,
bitch,
so you're not into that.
And I almost had a heart attack because I said to my editor, I'm on a deadline now, and I'm like plugging away, because when I got this deck was like probably 50% designed and 30% written when it got picked up by Wiser. And then they're like, how much time do you need? And I was like, 6 months. Fuck my life. So I had to write and write. And Amaya's like, all right, let's go. We're doing this. Giddy up. And so you learn really fast, like what the publishers do, what you do. They named it. We didn't name it. It didn't have a name. And they design the box, they design the book, and they design the card back. Halfway through my deadline, I said to my publisher, oh shit, do I need to write reversals?
They left that up to you?
She's like, no, I don't. No, she's like, no, I don't think you need to. I hadn't in my writing samples included any because I had given them, I think I had given them, I might have given them the devil. And they're like, no, you don't need to. I'm like, I don't read those. So I don't even know. Because the problem is too, like, right? If you reverse the card, oh my God, I just got a really fucking awesome idea. Anyway, if you reverse the card, the meaning of the crystal no longer holds, is the problem.
Ooh.
Because when you
Okay.
change the archetype and you change the way the archetype is interacting with your energetic field, the crystal different.
That makes
So
sense.
this
That
deck
makes
is
a lot of
actually
sense.
meant to be read without reversal. So it's not even more about
Correct.
preference. This is meant to be read without
No,
reversal.
it doesn't. No, because like think about like some of the cards when they're reversed are a little bit more nuanced or internal, but like some of them are completely different. Like so, for example, like think about like the archetype of the Queen of Swords, where upright she's, truth and cutting away bullshit and this like higher wisdom authority. But when she's reversed, she's deceptive. But
So that
Tanzanite
changes
isn't,
it.
but it completely changes it. Like Tanzanite, not Tanzanite, that's the king. Alexandrite is not deceptive. I don't even know like like basically what would happen would be that just like, for example, the Three of Swords Apache tears, the crystal associated with it would have to be that like the antidote.
I see. I see. I like that. For me personally, I am someone who does read reversals, but I don't necessarily always go with what the book means. Like you said, sometimes the meaning is slightly different. Sometimes it's internal. Sometimes it has a completely
Mhm.
different meaning. However, especially with a deck like this, where it's not technically meant to be read traditionally with reversals, if cards do get reversed, I feel that that has a reason. And so I'll usually read that as maybe that particular energy is against you. Maybe that particular energy is less in your life than you need it to be. Or maybe it's something that you're underutilizing, or maybe you're ignoring it. So it doesn't traditionally follow the same meanings because your deck, like you said, the crystals kind of almost prevent some of that. Like they kind
Yeah,
of give it a particular, just like crystal matrices. You can only go in one particular direction for that crystal.
right.
This is the same way. If you do end up with reversals in this deck, I would probably read them more as maybe that's something you need to pay attention to more, or maybe that's something again that's flowing out, like a cup upside down might be that energy is
Yeah.
flowing out of your life, not necessarily a traditional reversal.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. It's really interesting. I think like tarot is a discipline where you never stop learning or developing relationship with the archetypes
Yes.
and the
A
cards.
hundred
It's
percent
Yes.
it's
agree.
it's like it's
So
never
agree.
over. And you get into a point in your practice, your relationship with the cards. Like if I could read a book and get like a new book that's written and get one different nugget that I put into my practice, I'm like, that was a great book.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that. I have never considered that, but that's something that I might consider about reversals.
Well, cool. All right. So, all right. Well, while I'm on a roll, I'm
Yeah.
You're
going to say that
changing her.
in the beginning of your book, you do have a spread, a tarot spread. Now,
Yeah.
one of the things Shell and I absolutely love to do is spread creation. It's something that a lot of people could do if they put their mind to it. I do think that there's a little bit of, or a lot of, positioning, setting things up for reasons. They have meaning to the positions. So when I saw your crystal spread in the beginning, I really liked it. So I thought I would give it a shot, and it works great. It's a very good
Yes.
spread. And again, it kind of gives me that idea of the lattice work that you can see when you look at crystals under a microscope. It
Yeah.
kind of following those lines of the crystal in the reading was a really revelatory reading. It gave a very good reading. So, can you tell us a little bit about how you designed that spread, or designing tarot spreads in general?
Well, first, I don't mean to disappoint you, but I am not typically a spread reading girl. I am a chaotic tarot reader. The style of reading that I do, I don't even, maybe it has a name and I just do it intuitively, but I put a card in the middle and I make like a V and then it comes back. And when it comes back, I don't know when it's going to come back in. It depends on the story that we're telling and what's
Hmm.
happening. And it's
Yes.
almost like in the conversation, it's what I do. But going back to my business owner hat and selling a lot of decks, I know that people love being able to activate their tarot deck in some way or use it in some way that's unique to that specific deck. So I knew that it would be important. And I almost thought like, crystal grids is such a thing. And again, not to disappoint people, I'm like not like a gigantic crystal grid person either.
A little more chaotic than that.
I am. I would say I'm definitely more of like a chaotic witch for sure. But I knew I wanted to do something that was more structured and organized. So I put on my Capricorn rising hat. Here's the thing. It's a 7-card spread. I am a 7 life path, which is the mystic number, and I live in a 7 house. So like the 7, and I'm also an Italian folk witch, and you do things in odd numbers because odd numbers can't be broken in half. So to be able to snap something in half isn't bad luck, or at least as my grandmother said. If you're an Italian folk witch and you're like, that's not the lore, that's the lore that my grandmother told me, so be quiet.
Grandma lore is gospel.
Rock solid.
Grandma lore is the way it goes, really.
Listen, when I was getting married to my first husband, those little the Jordan almonds, she was like, you have to do 3 or you have to do 5. You can't do 4, otherwise you're gonna get a divorce. I mean, whatever, we got divorced anyway, but
maybe he ate 4.
Whatever. So I wanted, obviously to have something that people could understand to work with. I wanted to lay it out in the crystal shape to sort of make it make sense. And I wanted people to sort of get the understanding that when you do these spreads, whatever you do, you could then go to the stones and pull them and put them in the pocket. Like if the reading resonates with you, and you
if
could
the chariot is stalking you, you can grab that carnelian.
Just grab it and work with it. And like there's a reason. So like you say, you got the stalker card and the energy is coming to you, or you love, the outcome of this reading and you really resonate with one particular card. If you have the stone, you could grab it. You can be like, all right, I'm going to work with or have that energetic field in my energetic field and sort of see what happens. I think it's really important to be a scientist in terms of your magic and your practice. And you're the scientist of your experience, and your feelings count. And so I think like keeping track of that and writing that down and working with the stones and like, how does this crystal make you feel? The chariot's been stalking me. How does carnelian feel in my energy this week is super important and valid.
You can do the opposite as well. If you're feeling called to a stone, maybe go find that card and explore that card.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah, and the deck has the affirmations. So maybe you don't want to work with the whole. And the affirmations came from oh my gosh, hello. I never said her words with my menopause, the perimenopause brain of the losing words is like very annoying.
Oh, I fucking hate perimenopause. It's the worst.
It's like literally the worst. I'm like,
what's the crystal for that? Because I need 3 of them.
Oh my God, I don't even know. It's terrible, dude. The inspiration, that was the word I was looking for.
Yes.
The inspiration to have affirmations was Robert Simmons' Book of Stones. So at the end of Robert Simmons, they always have an affirmation for the crystal. And I was like, yeah, that's dope. If I have like an affirmation that sort of like merges the two, then people could work with the stone, like you said, or you're interested in the stone. You could pull the affirmation. You could use that as a lead into a meditation. You could use it as a journal prompt. I mean, there's like a bazillion ways you could work with it.
The other thing you have in here that I'm going to pull out real quick is, I can only think of 2 of them, but you have a quote from Modest Mouse, Trailer Trash, in here.
I don't even listen to Modest Mouse.
You don't? And you've got a quote from Leonard Cohen, Anthem.
That makes it better.
So where did those songs come from?
Okay. I mean, it's not like, okay, I know Modest Mouse. Like I listen to, like I know of them, obviously. I'm a music person. Like people, it's so funny. I have like all these ideas. You're like, you should do a music deck. There's like a bazillion music decks. The way the Modest Mouse quote came to be is that I was searching for a memory, and maybe we could blame it on perimenopausal brain. But I had heard somebody say that like you spend your whole life going back to the child you once were. And so I was like searching furiously to find what the quote attribution was. And then I stumbled upon the Modest Mouse lyric, and I was like, this is perfect.
It is. The quote is actually, you spend the most of your life looking for the adult you are. You spend the rest of your life looking for the child that you were. And that's for the 6 of Cups. And I think that's perfect.
Yeah, so that one, and then the like Leonard Cohen I love, like
Yes.
that's more my speed.
Mhm.
And that's for septarian, right?
Yes, for
That's
judgment.
right
Yes.
for
Yep.
judgment. Another card that I have issues with, and I think not, and I don't have issue with the meaning. I don't have issue with the archetype. I have issue with the Rider Waite Smith imagery because it's for whatever reason it like pisses me off.
What
I guess
card?
me judgment. I don't like that revelation imagery. It just like it pisses me. I'm like a very as like a folk Italian sort of Catholic Saint adjacent, at least my brand of like witchy Catholicism, I don't necessarily have a very good relationship with like revelation whatsoever. So the imagery of the traditional judgment card like really pisses me off. And so that was one that was a little bit harder to write. And then and Septarian was something that was an easy sort of fit for me because it's really about like integrating and learning your lessons and being like the next best version of yourself. And that's really what Septarian allows you to do. But the Septarian does look like that ancient Japanese art of kintsugi. And that's sort of like the angle that I got into with finding that Leonard Cohen quote.
Nice. I do have one last question for you. Speaking of cards that stalk you and gods that energies that stalk you, I came to a card. I started looking to a card because of a connection to a particular crystal. For me, that crystal's bloodstone. Back
Mm.
many decades ago, when I first met one of my first uh, teachers, for one of my first teachers, she did what she called a stoning, and she would give me a crystal and just have me feel what I felt about it. And I never seen most of these. I was a witchling. It was the 80s. I didn't know what I was doing.
Hmm.
When we came to the bloodstone, I literally went into a full on, I had a vision, and I'd never had a vision that clear in my life. And I was telling Chelle when we were talking about it earlier that I can still smell the leaves, the loam of the forest from that
Mm.
vision right now. And Bloodstone is one that I have a very strong connection with. So I looked up which card Bloodstone was, and it's the Hanged one, which is also kind of funny because I've been having this relationship where Odin's kind of stalking me. I have a lot of
Mm.
learning to do, I guess. And so he keeps showing
Okay.
up in a lot of things. So, and a lot of times people will show the Hanged Man as Odin. So I thought that
Mm.
was kind of an interesting connection. Can you talk
Mm.
to me a little bit about Bloodstone as the Hanged one?
So it's so interesting how I got to Bloodstone as the hanged one. And I think because Bloodstone connects to this Christ consciousness wisdom, right?
Hmm.
Because they would think like that the blood of Bloodstone, those droplets are reminiscent of, Christ's blood. And I am, if anything, a former goth in training, so give me a blood dropped crucifix any day of the week.
And the spider imagery is almost,
Yes.
Black Widow-ish, with the dark
Yeah,
red and the
yeah.
black and hanging from the web. It's very beautiful.
Yeah, she did. We knew we wanted it. Again, we wanted to take the people out.
Hmm.
So what is the hanged one? So what I love about the spider imagery is not only being like it's hanging, but the spider is hanging and creating instead of hanging in like that traditional passive, right? So
Yeah.
the spider's hanging and creating. And it really reminded me of I don't really read the hanged one as have like yes, stop, reflect, but it's more like turn everything over and look at everything from a different perspective. And
Nice.
so
I like that.
like yeah, like you have to turn it around. Like I always get the imagery of like somebody with a Rubik's cube, like turning it over in their hands over and
Yeah.
over again to solve. That's sort of like one of the image, like the flashes that comes to mind when I think of the hanged one. And I think about like the precision of what a spider has to craft and like the architecture involved in that web, and sort of to like look at problems upside down and like think like, how are you connected to them? How are you connected to the situation? Like, what are you weaving? And what part
Yes.
do you play in the weaving?
I love
I
that.
love
I
that.
absolutely love the hanging by the thread, but still
Yeah.
creating aspect.
Hmm.
Just like you said at the beginning, sometimes you look at a deck, a new deck, and it gives you a slightly different perspective. One little nugget. This one gives lots, but just that nugget there of hanging but still creating for this card just gives it so much more. I don't know. I really like that. Something to chew on.
I think that I heard somebody say, I don't know who it was, that like tarot should help you with where you are. Like what energies are you in and how can you, if it's amazing, great, but like oftentimes we turn to tarot, we turn to readings when we like the hanged one, we're turning that Rubik's cube over and trying to figure something out. And so that's a lot of what this deck is and the archetypes are. It's about the fact that all of us human beings, we go through these things, we go through these life seasons, these situations. We've all pretty much been through all 78 of these archetypes in our lives.
Yeah.
Maybe not if you're super duper young, but I promise you all guys, you will get there. And so it's like how can you learn and be like keep evolving and keep going through these like judgment cycles where you're like, all right, I'm like this next better version of myself. But that's sort of the work that this deck was, or at least for me as well. It's not so much trying to figure out like, do they like me? Are they going to ask me out on a date? Like, who cares?
Yeah. But talking directly to you, this deck does that beautifully. You said you use it regularly for a single pull. I know Chelle was doing that as well, pulling 3 cards with it, pulling a card.
Yeah, every
What's that
morning
stalker today?
the stalker card. Every morning I pull a card to check the energy of the day and I do a little reading, a little channeling, a little, and a lot of the entries of the book you'll see in like real time, like where we were in time as I was writing as well. Like I think I was like writing when like Trump was inaugurated for the second time, and that's in there. There's all like little stories because if you have a hard time with a card, you need to be able to connect it to your life. And then
Yes.
you'll be able to be like, oh, I understand that archetype.
Or if a card is
That's it.
stalking you, right, Chelle?
Mm,
Well, yeah, yeah. But again, I circle back to I look at this as a gateway to
mhm.
create a deeper connection with stones and crystals.
Yeah. And maybe that carnelian is saying something to you. Carnelian is the stone sometimes of help. It's like the crystal version of caffeine, right? So it helps you get the things done that you don't really want to get done. So it's almost like I would say, like, what are we avoiding?
Social media.
Well, there you go.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dina, for joining us. This has been an absolutely wonderful conversation. And thank you for this deck. You and
Oh my
Amalia both.
goodness. Thank you so much for having me. It was such an honor to talk to you both.
Oh,
If you guys, if anybody doesn't have the deck and you want to get it from my store, I sign them. So
oh,
shop,
Ooh.
please give us
yeah.
the
So
information how they can get in
yeah,
touch with you.
so and Jeffrey Bezos has enough friggin' money. Don't buy it from Amazon.
Yes.
Shop AmityvilleApothecary.com. I sign all the copies and we even do like little stickers and little pins. We like throw in, I love mail because I'm a Gen X girl and we had pen pals. So like good mail with like extras is really important. There's nothing worse that Amazon box does not hit as well as a good put together package. Let's be
No.
real. And we send nice
Right.
mail.
Does not have the good energy, does not have the special touch, and
No,
does not have Dina's signature. So
that is
how fun
true.
would
So
that be? So check
signed
out your website.
copies.
What's your Instagram?
The Instagram, so my personal Instagram is Dina L. Rosenberg, DinaLRosenberg. The shop's Instagram is Amityville Apothecary. Also, TikToks are the same, Dina L. Rosenberg, Amityville
You also
Apothecary,
have
all
a
the same.
podcast. What's your podcast?
Oh my gosh, you guys are like you're hired as my publicist. We have a podcast called Apothecary After Dark that just went into its
Ooh,
fourth season.
congratulations.
Thank you. That's available everywhere. And this season we have some really exciting guests that we've had that we are having on that we've had on. And the last thing I'll tell you guys is save the date and make your plans because April 24th and 25th of 2027, we hold a conference. It is called Alchemy Academy. It is a 2-day event, and we have all expert speakers. Saturday is a tarot day, and Sunday is a magic day.
Oh.
So our tarot faculty is Mary K. Greer, Stephanie Capone, Melissa Sinova, and oh my God, who is the fourth? And Meg Jones Wall.
Wow,
nice.
That's quite a lineup.
On the second day, it's all things magic. We have Colin Bedell, who is a very well-known astrologer. We have Nicholas Pearson, who's written so many books on crystals, crystal basics, archetypes, witching stones. We have Abiola Abrams, who is a creator of Hay House. And we have, oh my God, Marcella Kroll, who is also an amazing tarot writer, but also is currently doing a book on protection magic.
Now,
so she'll be doing protection craft.
Where can they get information on that event?
So information on that event is alchemyacademyschool.com. So
awesome.
Come hang with us, because what I want to tell you is that we limit it to 100 people and the speakers stay the entire time and it's interactive. So like you could talk to the speakers, they sign books. It's an amazing community. It's not like I've been to conferences that have like 500, 600 people and you're not seeing anybody. This past May, we had Judica Illis, and she's was great. Like signing everybody's books. It was the first time she had talked in person in 6 years. Like it was like, so we, because of our bookshop and our relationship with all the publishers, we are able to get like amazing people. It's going to be insane. Ooh, so get your tickets and make your travel plans and come see us.
Well, thank you so much, Dina, for joining us on Back on the Broomstick. We will definitely put up links to everything. And thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Cliff, very, very much for the intro. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all of the listeners out there. Please like, subscribe, give us some reviews. We really appreciate it. And it helps the show out.
Dina, thank you so much for taking the time with us tonight.
We appreciate it so much.
Anytime you ever want to do like spell work on the air, let's like light some shit on fire. We could do a fucking cow tongue, whatever you want. Who do we
all right, well, you know what? We might take you up on that. We are kind of fuck around and light a cow tongue on fire kind of witches.
Oh my God, listen. Let me tell you.
We'll get into it. We'll sling some tarot. We will sling some spells. We'll do a little magic sometime.
So
we'll have you back.
Fun. Exactly.
Thank you so much to Dina for joining us on Back on the Broomstick, and thank you all for listening to this episode. We are off in the wilds of Sherman, New York, playing around at Brushwood Folklore Center, dancing around the fire, going to workshops, meeting listeners, meeting new friends, and having a wonderful time in the fairy woods.
So we hope you all have a great week while we are out doing our witch maxing stuff. And again, thank you, Dina. So wonderful, and we love this deck so much.
It's actually with me out here at Brushwood, so if you see me here, I'll pull a card for you.
I totally think you should call her out on that, by the way.
Well, actually, I think you should too. We hope you all enjoyed this episode. We will see you next week for another episode with a fabulous witchy person. And until then, be wise, be wicked,
and keep it witchy.